The sound of laughter hit me before I even stepped into the restaurant. High-pitched, careless, and loud. The kind of laughter people use to prove they're unbothered. I froze at the entrance, my fingers tightening around my phone as I reread the message that had brought me here. Just out for dinner with the girls. Don't wait up. I hadn't planned to come. I wasn't the type to check on anyone. But something about that text, the easy tone, the abruptness, had felt off. My wife, Emma, used to tell me where she was with a smile, a kiss, sometimes even a picture of her plate, teasing me for always ordering the same thing at home. But lately she'd been different. Brighter around others, dimmer around me. The waiter, oblivious to the storm in my chest, guided me through the dimly lit dining area, weaving between tables of laughter and clinking glasses. Then I saw her. Emma. Her hair was pinned up, her shoulders bare in the dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. Around her sat 3 of her closest friends, Chloe, Maya, and Jenna, but they weren't the ones who made my pulse stutter. It was him. Daniel. The man leaning too close. His hand resting just a little too comfortably on the back of her chair. The man I'd seen at our house 2 weeks ago, fixing her car, smiling like he already belonged there. The man whose name had started to appear in casual conversation. "Oh, Daniel helped me with that," or "Daniel's so funny you'd like him." My throat tightened. Emma's head tilted back in laughter, her hand brushing his arm. Soft, deliberate, familiar. The kind of touch that didn't belong to friends. For a second I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. It was like watching someone I used to know wearing my wife's skin, laughing in a world where I didn't exist. When she finally noticed me, her expression froze mid-laugh. The table went quiet. "Ethan," she said, her voice a mixture of surprise and guilt. The room blurred around me. "Didn't mean to interrupt," I said quietly. "I was just nearby." Chloe shifted uncomfortably. Daniel withdrew his hand. But the silence between Emma and me said everything. She stood up quickly, grabbing her purse. "Let's talk outside." I followed her through the maze of tables, the laughter resuming behind us as if nothing had happened. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp, biting against the heat rising in my chest. "Why are you here?" she asked, crossing her arms. "I could ask you the same thing," I replied. Her eyes flickered. "I told you, dinner with friends." "With him." I gestured toward the window, where Daniel was pretending not to watch us. "He's just a friend," she said too quickly. "You're overreacting." "Then why did you look like you saw a ghost when you saw me?" She flinched, then sighed. "Because I knew you'd twist it into something it's not. You always do." The deflection cut deeper than the lie. I stared at her. The woman I'd spent 6 years building a life with, the woman I thought I knew better than myself. But in that moment, all I saw was distance. "I'm not twisting anything," I said quietly. "I just see what's right in front of me." Her jaw tightened. "You never trust me." That was the moment I realized something irreversible. She wasn't denying it because it wasn't true. She was angry because I'd caught her before she was ready to admit it. When she finally turned back toward the restaurant, her friends were already watching through the glass. Chloe was whispering to Maya, and I could see the judgment in their eyes. Not for her but for me. The loyal husband who didn't know when to give his wife space. I walked away first. But as I drove home, the image of her leaning toward him wouldn't leave me. The sound of her laughter, that bright, reckless laughter, followed me like an echo. The next few days passed like a slow bleed. Emma didn't come home that night. She texted around noon the next day, saying she'd stayed at Chloe's. No apology, no explanation. Just space. When she finally walked through the door 2 nights later, her face was calm, too calm. "Can we not make this a thing?" she said as she dropped her keys. "What would you call it then?" Asked. I shrugged. "A misunderstanding. You're jealous. You always have been." Her voice was smooth, rehearsed. Made my skin crawl. "I'm not jealous, Emma," I said. "I'm disappointed." She froze mid-step. That word hit harder than anger ever could. I watched her shoulders stiffen, her mask slip for just a second. And beneath it I saw guilt, raw and real. But she didn't break. She turned toward me and said, "Maybe I need some time to figure myself out." There it was, the phrase every married person dreads. The start of the end. What does that even mean? Yes. Figure yourself out where? With him. Don't do this. I'm not doing anything. You're the one. I just need to breathe, Ethan, she snapped, her voice shaking. I've been someone's wife, someone's daughter, someone's everything for years. I don't even know who I am anymore. For a moment, I saw the tears she was fighting. And it broke me because part of me still loved her enough to believe she was lost, not cruel. So I stepped back, gave her space. I watched her pack a suitcase and say, "Just for a few days." I watched her friends help her move into a small apartment across town, their eyes full of pride, as if she were breaking free from oppression instead of walking away from devotion. They called it independence. But independence doesn't look like midnight phone calls from unknown numbers. It doesn't sound like muffled laughter through thin walls when I came by to drop off her mail. It doesn't smell like his cologne when I hugged her goodbye one Sunday, pretending I didn't notice the mark on her neck. By the time I finally confronted her, I wasn't even angry anymore. Just hollow. "Is there someone else?" Yes. She stared at me, her eyes shimmering. "Ethan, please don't make me say it." That silence, that refusal to lie one more time, was worse than a confession. And yet, in that moment I didn't hate her. I hated how much I still wanted her to tell me it wasn't true. Weeks passed. I stopped calling. She didn't come back. Her friends posted pictures online. Brunches, cocktails, laughter. And in every frame she looked lighter, freer. I was the ghost in her old life. One evening Chloe came to my door. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "She's different now," Chloe said awkwardly. "Happier, I think. She's trying to move on." "With him?" Chloe hesitated. "She doesn't talk about it." "But yeah." The words settled like ash. Chloe bit her lip. "She's not a bad person, Ethan. She just wanted to feel alive again." I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. And destroying someone else's heart was the way to do it. Chloe didn't reply. She just left. That night, I drove past Emma's apartment. The lights were on. Through the curtain, I saw her silhouette. Two figures moving close together. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel pain. Just clarity. Love doesn't survive dishonor. And no chorus of cheering friends can drown out the silence of what's been broken. I drove home and started packing. Not her things, mine. Because for the first time I realized I was the one still standing in the wreckage, waiting for something that wasn't coming back. And I was done waiting. 2 months after she left, I finally stopped checking her social media. It wasn't strength that made me stop. It was exhaustion. Every photo felt like a knife carefully turned. Emma at the beach with her friends, smiling wider than she ever had with me. Emma at a rooftop bar, her hair loose, her drink held high as if she'd conquered something invisible. Emma in a group picture, and just behind her, a man's hand resting casually on her waist. They didn't hide it anymore. I deleted the apps, but it was too late. The images had already burned themselves into my mind. People talk about heartbreak like it's an explosion. For me it was erosion, slow, quiet, and constant. Every day took another piece of me until I didn't recognize what was left. Then one morning she called. "Hey," she said softly, like nothing had happened. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, or maybe habit, got the better of me. "Hey, I heard you're selling the house." "Yeah," I said. "I don't need that much space anymore." You loved that place." "I loved who I lived there with." The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that fills your chest until it hurts to breathe. "I didn't call to fight," she finally said. I wanted to check on you." I almost laughed. Check on me. Like she hadn't been the storm that tore everything apart. But something in her voice stopped me. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't arrogance. It was uncertainty. For the first time, she didn't sound sure of her new world. "I'm fine," I lied. You don't need to worry about me. I know I don't, she said quietly. But I do. Her words lingered, soft but cutting. She started to say something else, then changed her mind. Take care, Ethan. She hung up before I could respond. A week later I ran into her, of all places, at the same restaurant where it had all fallen apart. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'd come to meet a client, and there she was, sitting near the window, surrounded by the same circle of friends. The same laughter, the same air of freedom. But something was different. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. The laughter seemed practiced. Even Daniel, sitting beside her, looked uncomfortable. When she saw me, she froze for a fraction of a second, then forced a smile. It was small, almost apologetic. I nodded politely and walked past, pretending not to care. But my hand shook slightly as I sat down. My client, a middle-aged man named Reed, noticed. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Just old ghosts. The meeting ended quickly, but I didn't leave. I watched through the glass as Emma's friends began to disperse. Daniel said something and she laughed, but when he leaned in to kiss her, she turned her head away. It was subtle, but I saw it. He looked angry. She looked trapped. When they finally left, I stepped outside to clear my head. I wasn't proud of it, but I followed her, just far enough to see. They argued near her car. Her arms crossed defensively. His gestures were sharp, impatient. Then he walked away, leaving her standing there alone, staring at the ground. I should have kept walking. I owed her nothing. But seeing her like that, small, shaking, completely unlike the woman who'd left me, it undid something inside me. She noticed me as I approached. Her eyes widened. Ethan. Rough afternoon? I asked, my tone neutral. She gave a weak laugh. You could say that. I hesitated. You okay? I don't know. She looked down at her hands. He's not who I thought he was. I almost smiled at the bitter irony. They never are. Her eyes filled with tears and she whispered, I made a mistake. The words I'd dreamt of hearing, the ones I thought would heal me, did nothing. They just landed flat, hollow. Why tell me that? I asked quietly. Because you deserve to know. I see it now. Everything you did for me, everything you gave. I didn't understand what it meant until I lost it. She wiped her face, her voice trembling. They all told me I was strong, that I was choosing myself. But all I did was run toward someone who told me what I wanted to hear. I confused excitement with love. Her confession should have felt like victory. Instead, it just hurt in a different way. Emma, I said, I loved you. Even when you stopped loving me. I would have fought for us if you'd just been honest. I was scared, she whispered. Scared that the love we had was fading, and that staying meant becoming invisible. I thought leaving would fix me. Did it? She shook her head. It broke me. The wind rustled between us, carrying away the last of the words we'd never said when they still mattered. I don't expect forgiveness, she said finally. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry. I stared at her for a long time, at the woman who had once been my whole world, now reduced to a painful memory wrapped in regret. You know what's funny? I said quietly. When you left, your friends cheered. They said you were finding yourself, taking your life back. They never saw what it cost me, or you. She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. They don't see much anymore. Do they know you're here, talking to me? No, she whispered. They wouldn't understand. For the first time, I saw the cracks in her so-called independence, the loneliness behind the defiance, the doubt behind the smiles. She took a deep breath. Would you ever consider talking again? Not to fix anything. Just to talk. It would have been easy to say yes. To mistake pity for closure. But the truth was, something inside me had already closed long before this moment. I don't think that's a good idea, I said softly. I think the kindest thing we can do now is let each other heal. Her lips trembled. You really mean that? I do. She nodded, eyes glistening. Then, goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Emma. She turned and walked away, her figure shrinking against the glow of the streetlights. No one cheered this time. No one called her brave. She looked back once, just before getting into her car. Our eyes met, and for a split second I saw all the versions of her I'd loved. The one who laughed in the kitchen at midnight, who fell asleep with her head on my chest, who whispered plans for a future we'd never reach. Then she drove off. I stood there for a long time, feeling nothing and everything all at once. When I finally walked away, it wasn't out of anger or heartbreak. It was peace. Because for the first time since she'd left, I understood something simple and quiet. Love doesn't die when someone betrays you. It dies when you stop waiting for them to come back. And that's what I did. I walked away for good.